Part 22. I Took Away the Villain's Son. Author, the Great Onmyoji. Chapter 213. Underworld, the blood-colored ocean flows. Yang Hao headed towards the Imperial Mountain and walked towards the body floating on the sea of blood with difficulty and tenacity. Earned 230 million points for discovering the body of the Quasi-Emperor. It's not the Emperor's body. After finally getting closer, Yang Hao felt extremely regretful. Viewing from a distance was completely different from viewing it up close. After getting closer, Yang Hao suddenly discovered that although the body was intact, it had lost its bones. This was a picture that exuded precious light. Human skin. In the system's income record, it is clearly marked that this is the body of a Quasi-Emperor. Under the impact of the sea of blood, it can still remain intact. Even human skin is a rare treasure. This human skin should at least be a Quasi-Emperor who is about to achieve enlightenment. Yunyan reminded Yang Hao. Good wait. Yang Hao naturally understood that the endless avenues in the sea of blood were mixed, and spiritual power was completely unable to intervene. He did not hesitate to hit the Five Elements Avenue and collect this human skin floating in the sea of blood. As soon as he collected it, Yang Hao felt the powerful force. This piece of human skin is floating in the sea of blood. Although there is no trace of bones, it is extremely heavy. Yang Hao's face changed slightly, and even with his current strength, it was a little difficult to put this human skin into the sea of spiritual energy. What surprised Yang Hao was that the moment this human skin entered the sea of spiritual energy, the supreme immortal bone in the body suddenly trembled slightly. Extremely extraordinary. Yang Hao's eyes flickered, the divine object had a spirit, and the supreme immortal bones trembled. It made him understand that this Quasi-Emperor corpse might have a great background. However, it was located in the sea of blood at this moment, and Yang Hao did not deliberately study it anymore. He sensed that the place where the laws of destiny converged was getting closer and closer. After collecting the body of the Quasi-Emperor, he walked towards the direction he sensed again. Step by step, he walked slowly for an unknown length of time, and the mountain-like sea of magic medicine was absorbed by Yang Hao ate it to maintain the consumption of Emperor Mountain. Finally, other scenery finally appeared in the blood-colored ocean. It was an island shrouded in grey fog. Arrive. Yang Hao was refreshed. He finally found the place where he sensed the existence of a large number of destiny laws. It was on this grey island. Dragging heavy steps, he spent half a day and finally landed on this island. Call. The moment he stepped onto the island, Yang Hao felt his body suddenly relax. On the island, there was no longer the almost endless tide of blood sea that carried the attacks and killings from the avenue. Although the grey mist on the island was equally terrifying, it can easily make an emperor fall on the spot, but for Yang Hao, it is much easier. The law of fate on this island is no less than the law of fate that I felt on the third floor of Wandeo Pavilion that day. Deep down, it is even more intense. Yang Hao focused his attention on the island, and he showed a rare expression of excitement. Under the impact of the chaotic blood sea tide, Yang Hao could only sense that there was a strong law of destiny on the island before. But he never thought that after actually setting foot on the island, he found that the law of fate was stronger than he imagined. Just as he stepped on it, he sensed the huge law of fate. This is not Wandeo Pavilion. There is a time limit and he will be transported when the time is up. Strictly in a sense, as long as Deshan does not leave, Yang Hao can stay on this mysterious island until the end of time. Of course, Deshan can only be used for 100 years, but for Yang Hao, it is enough. He did not immediately, instead of practicing cross-legged, he headed towards the depths of the island where a stronger law of destiny clearly existed. Although he could already feel the breath of destiny from the third floor of the rainless Wandeo Pavilion just after he set foot on the island, he was still a little behind in condensing the crystallization of destiny. Yang Hao hoped that the condensation time would be as short as possible. Yang Hao didn't know how huge the entire mysterious island was or whether there were any living creatures. There was a jungle deep in the island. He passed by and soon entered a deserted wilderness. The smell of danger. After walking towards the depths of the island for many hours, Yang Hao walked through the wilderness and entered a forest of rocks, but felt a creepy aura. The laws of fate that permeated the surroundings became more and more intense, but as he walked forward, the frightening feeling in my heart becomes stronger. Just practice here. Yang Hao understands the principle of giving up when it's good. There has never been a record of the mysterious island in the underworld. The law of destiny at the current location is extremely rich, enough for him to condense the crystal of the law. Although he is curious, he is not reckless. There are too many unknowns here. Although Deshan is an extremely defensive emperor, he cannot fully exert his full power. Now that he has achieved his goal, it is enough. He immediately sat down cross-legged and shot out a series of attacks. Divine Light, they are all extremely precious formation discs, which contain a large number of powerful defensive formations, which can be released as long as they are activated. However, these formation discs are all consumables and will have no value after they are released. It can be said that they are extremely precious. Extreme. Yang Hao did not release these precious formation discs to protect the road. There must be great terror on the mysterious island. It is impossible to resist these powerful defensive formations. It is enough to serve as a warning. It is finally time to condense the crystallization of the ninth law. Yang Hao took a deep breath. In fact, it didn't take long for him to enter the giant realm. However, it felt quite long. Mainly because it was too difficult to find the place where the law of destiny existed. Fortunately, despite all the hardships, he has finally arrived here. Next, he will initially understand the law of destiny and let this supreme law become one of the fundamental avenues for his future. Let's start. Yang Hao instantly entered a state of cultivation and began to continuously absorb the ethereal laws of destiny in the void. Time passed like this for 1 or 2 days. The wisps of the laws of destiny were continuously linked and comprehended by Yang Hao. His understanding of the law of destiny began to advance by leaps and bounds. In the sea of spiritual energy, the ethereal aura of the law of destiny finally began to gradually gather, forming a thick mist. This means that Yang Hao is only one step away from understanding the law of destiny. Can condense and crystallize. In a month at most, the law of destiny can be understood and the crystal of the law of destiny can be condensed in the sea of aura. Feeling the progress of the law of destiny, Yang Hao is extremely looking forward to it. Once the law of destiny is condensed into crystal, he can condense the immortal matter without hesitation and break through to become an eternal giant. Time has passed again for half a month, allowing Yang Hao something unexpected happened. On the mysterious island shrouded in grey mist, the grey mist composed of unknown substances suddenly began to dissipate. The blood-red sky, reflected by the blood-red sea of underworld, slowly appeared. Yang Hao's heart suddenly shook, and even his thoughts were interrupted in an instant. He instantly sensed that a similar shadow appeared in the sky where the grey mist dispersed. He opened his eyes and looked up at the sky. It was a shadow. The huge bronze palace is square and solemn. Palace of Hades. Yang Hao's eyelids twitched slightly. The shadow in the sky was the palace of the underworld that he had entered in the ancient battlefield. It was in the palace of the underworld that he set off a life and death struggle and transformed the enemy into a shadow. Later, he also witnessed the magnificent scene of Emperor Yu's corpse walking out of the underworld palace. Now, the underworld palace actually appeared in the depths of the underworld sea, which shocked him extremely. Although he did not enter it, Yang Hao was sure that this was the place that had been there at the beginning just by looking at it. The Hades Palace seen on the ancient battlefield. The Hades Palace in the ancient battlefield is like a mirage, often appearing anywhere in the 9 realms. But I have never heard that the Hades Palace would appear in areas other than the ancient battlefield, so how could it appear here? Hades Palace, Hades Sea. Is there some connection? Yang Hao's eyes moved, but he began to think deeply. That's all. Regardless of whether there is a real Hades Palace, the top priority is to condense the crystallization of the laws of destiny. If the crystallization of the law of destiny is completed and the Hades Palace is still there, we will talk about it then. The reappearance of the Underworld Palace undoubtedly shocked Yang Hao. However, Yang Hao knew very well what his purpose was. Just after observing it, he fell into a state of practice again, hoping to succeed in one fell swoop. Soon, on the mysterious island, the grey mist covered it again, completely covering the Hades Palace in the sky. Yang Hao is getting closer and closer to the beginning of understanding the law of destiny and the crystallization of the law of destiny. Become. Time passed, and on this day Yang Hao suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes burst out with deep blue divine light, and his eyes turned into double pupils. But if you look carefully, you will find that there are gray-black auras deep in Yang Hao's double pupils. It is rolling slowly. In the sea of spiritual energy, the breath of destiny that has long been gathered into a ball begins to completely condense. In the blink of an eye, the light and shadow of the crystal flicker out. The crystallization of the law of destiny condenses in Yang Hao's body in an instant. At the same time, Yang Hao's body begins to unparalleled terrifying power burst out. Each of the 9 law crystals burst out the breath of law, intertwined in the sea of spiritual energy, and converged into an extremely brilliant rainbow light. One after another, subtle mysterious substances began to scatter from the interweaving of the rainbow light. Immortality matter appears. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 214. What is longevity substance? If you get it, you will live forever. Even today, no one knows how the immortal substance appears. As long as the crystals of the 9 laws are condensed in the body, and the laws are intertwined, the sea of spiritual energy will begin to sublimate, and the matter of immortality will gradually be born. Every time a piece of longevity material appears in the body, 1 year of life will be added. The reason why it is called an eternal giant is because as the sea of spiritual energy sublimates, 10,000 immortal substances will be born in it. The lifespan is increased by 10,000 years out of thin air, breaking the limit of human lifespan, and he should be regarded as an eternal giant. Since then, as time has passed, immortal matter in the eternal giant realm has been continuously born. Every time 1,000 immortal substances are born, they will be promoted to the next heaven and their lifespan will be increased by 1,000 years. At the peak of the eternal giant, the total number of immortal substances reached 19,000, and the total lifespan increased by 19,000 years. Coupled with the original longevity, there are some eternal giants with powerful foundations and immortal or even divine bodies. The longevity may even be 30,000 years old. In Yang Hao's mind, his understanding of the matter of immortality flashed through his mind. At his current age, he doesn't care about immortality substances. What he cares about is that after the immortal matter reaches its extreme, it will completely transform and sublimate into immortal matter. With immortal matter, he can condense the immortal golden body, and there is almost no distance between him and becoming a saint. Earned 170 million points for birth of immortal matter. Earned 300 million points due to breaking realm. Earned 190 million points for birth of immortal matter. At this moment, Yang Hao sensed the immortality substance in his body and was born crazily. 10 ways. Hundreds of ways. 1,000 roads. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 immortal substances have been born, completely transforming from the giant realm into a true eternal giant. Not only that, the crystallized breath of the 9 laws in the body is still constantly intertwined, and a steady stream of longevity substances is born. It's just that the speed is much slower than before. It's just normal. Breaking through the giant realm and being able to instantly give birth to thousands of immortal substances is because of accumulation and accumulation. Generally, once an eternal giant breaks through, the immortal matter will not continue to grow like Yang Hao after his birth, but will stagnate. New features appear. Yang Hao didn't care that the longevity matter in his body continued to be born, but focused his attention on the system. Sure enough, as the longevity matter appeared in his body, new functions of the system appeared. Accelerate. Simple and bright two golden characters appeared on Yang Hao's system panel. Does it mean to accelerate the birth of living matter? You can adjust the acceleration rate without any limit. Double the speed and consume tens of millions of points every minute. Accelerate 10 times and consume 100 million points per minute. Accelerate 100 times and consume 1 billion points per minute. Yang Hao understood the function of the new function almost instantly. Sensing the slow flow of living substances from the body, the 10,000th living substance is still being slowly born at this moment. Yang Hao glanced at the points he currently had. Since improving his state of mind and consuming all his points have skyrocketed again during this period, and now he has close to 1 trillion points. Accelerate 1,000 times. Almost without thinking, Yang Hao jumped in an instant. Accelerating 1,000 times, consuming hundreds of points per minute. His points began to fall crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye, but at the same time, the longevity matter in his body was going crazy. The explosion of birth begins. Under the 1,000-fold acceleration of the system, the speed of birth of immortal matter at this time is even crazier than when Yang Hao broke through the realm just now. The crystallization of laws in Yang Hao's body even begins to change due to the extremely rapid birth. Tremble. Fortunately, my law crystals are all special laws, and most of them are not preliminary condensed crystals. Otherwise, they are very likely to collapse under 1,000 times acceleration. Sensing the changes in his body, Yang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. Although the system can accelerate the magnification, it must also be based on his own background. If he cannot withstand the 1,000-fold acceleration, it is very likely to trigger a chain effect, causing his aura to riot, collapse. Earned 230 million points for the birth of immortality. Earned 400 million points due to breaking realm. Earned 450 million points due to breaking realm. At this moment, if anyone knew the speed of the birth of the living substance in Yang Hao's body, they would be so shocked that their chin would fall off. Countless immortal substances were born crazily in his body. In just the blink of an eye, thousands of immortal substances were born, causing Yang Hao's spiritual sea to churn and bloom into thousands of clouds of rays of light. Something unexpected happened. The amount of immortal matter in Yang Hao's body has already exceeded 19,000, but no immortal matter has been born. Instead, it is still being born crazily. It took 10,000 immortal substances to break through the first level of heaven. I have now given birth to a total of 90,000 immortal substances. Including the previous breakthrough realm, there are a total of 100,000 immortal substances. Does this mean that my lifespan has been increased by 100,000 years out of thin air? At this time, Yang Hao sensed the changes in his body. He has now reached the 9th level of the eternal giant. But his lifespan has increased significantly. With the blessing of 100,000 immortal substances, it has increased to 100,000 years. Far more. Far beyond what an eternal giant should be. His expression turned slightly intriguing. Eternal giants generally have a basic lifespan of more than 20,000 years. The emperor lasts for 50,000 years. Only by becoming a saint through the great way of evolution can one reach 100,000 years. It should be due to the foundation of divine body, immortal bones, and Deo blessing. Yang Hao sensed the sea of spiritual energy. At this moment, 100,000 immortal substances were like ethereal fairy mist coming out of the dust, washing up in his sea of spiritual energy, and finally no longer being born. The points that were consumed 1,000 times faster also stopped in an instant. I have never heard of anyone being able to give birth to 100,000 immortal substances in the eternal giant. I know that this should be the ultimate level of the eternal giant. If not, with his foundation, he will definitely be able to be born again. No problem. Yang Hao doesn't care about this. His time for cultivation is too short now, and he has no interest in increasing longevity. When the immortal matter reaches its extreme, it will turn into immortal matter. With eyes like a torch, he keenly perceived that among the hundreds of thousands of swirling immortal substances, one was slowly turning into a brilliant golden color. That was the immortal substance. The emperor began to forge the immortal substance and cultivate the law. But it often takes a long time to completely transform all the immortal matter in the body into immortal matter, and to transform the physical body into an immortal golden body. To become a saint, it is not necessary to completely cast an immortal golden body, only immortal matter is needed. It only takes 1/3 of the transformation to be able to withstand the huge power of being promoted to the saint level. Therefore, the emperor's realm has not yet condensed its achievements. When it reaches the saint's realm, it can be completely transformed into an immortal golden body with the help of the saint's hostage transformation power. It takes a long time. The immortal golden body that can only be forged over time is naturally extremely terrifying. Once it is successfully forged, it will become immortal from now on. Only the power of the Great Avenue, the world, and the ultimate emperor's soldiers can completely defeat it. What a terrible change! Yang Hui, soon as he noticed a streak of immortal matter turning into immortal matter, he felt the blood and energy in his body boiling and his muscles and bones relaxing. It was a feeling of changing one's body and being reborn. After condensing into the divine body of reincarnation, Yang Hao's physical body has not experienced such changes for a long time. Because there is no need. The divine body of the reincarnated Taoist body is unprecedented and unprecedented. It combines the strengths of the three ultimate divine bodies and is extremely terrifying. When Yang Hao was fighting some saints, he collided with the immortal golden body. Apart from being unable to recover instantly like the immortal golden body, he was never at a disadvantage. For ordinary practitioners, the transformation of immortal matter into immortal matter requires 19,000 transformations, but I need 100,000 transformations. Naturally, by then, the immortal golden body made of the 100,000 immortal substances that I have condensed will be unprecedented and overwhelming in this lifetime. Yang Hao has long been accustomed to the fact that he breaks the rules and practices completely different from others. He is not impatient and makes no sense. Earned 500 million points due to breaking realm. At this moment, Yang Hao raised his eyebrows. At this moment, he instantly broke through from the realm of an eternal giant to become an emperor. He can feel that the speed of his improvement is still jumping like crazy. In the blink of an eye, it has approached the second level of the emperor realm. This is not surprising. The most important thing in the emperor's realm is the law of cultivation and the avenue of evolution. He has already mastered the 5 elements of the avenue. If it were not restricted by the immortal golden body, it is impossible to say that he would be able to become a saint today. Instead, he began to carefully perceive the speed at which immortal matter transformed into immortal matter. According to my perception, it takes a month for each immortal substance to transform into an immortal substance. 100,000 ways would take more than 8,300 years. Even if it is 1/3, it will take more than 2,000 years. I don't know if the acceleration function can be used to transform immortal matter into immortal matter. If it doesn't work, I'll have to find another way. I don't know if I don't feel it. I'm shocked when I feel it. Yang Hao frowned. Although he has no shackles now, his aura is already rising crazily, but if he jumps to the 9th level of the emperor at most, he will not be able to do it because the immortal golden body has not been condensed and unable to prove it. He looked at the system. His brows furrowed deeper and deeper. The acceleration function can still be used, but something has changed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 215. The point consumption for accelerating the transformation of immortal matter has been changed. Double the speed and consume 100 million points every minute. To accelerate by 10,000 times, 1 trillion points will be consumed every minute. Yang Hao frowned, but he soon felt relieved. Immortal matter is obviously more difficult to condense than immortal matter, so it is natural that it consumes more points. According to the efficiency with which I obtain points, and by constantly switching between 100-fold, 1,000-fold, and 10,000-fold accelerations, it should take at most 1 year for my immortal matter to be transformed by 1/3. In other words, I can become a saint within 1 year. Yang Hao's eyes flashed. He was very satisfied with this result. His aura at this moment is still constantly sublimating. The second level of the Emperor's realm. The third level of the Emperor's realm. The fourth level of the Emperor's realm. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation level jumped to the 7th level of the Emperor realm, and gradually stabilized. This improvement is very scary. My combat power is probably much stronger than before, but I still need to get familiar with it. Feeling that his realm suddenly jumped from the giant realm to the 9th heaven of the eternal giant, and directly stabilized in the 7th heaven of the Emperor realm, Yang Hao was also very happy in his heart. The improvement in realm brought about earth-shaking changes. The power of his aura, the sea, almost doubled in size from its original size in an instant. The aura of the creatures in the prehistoric killing array was also many times richer than before. It was clear that it was not far from jumping to the small world. The power in it, Yang Hao, was also, he probably felt it. If the original Great Desolate Killing Formation could equal the Saint, then the current prehistoric killing formation is very likely to be able to cooperate with the 5 elements avenue to kill the Saint easily. According to Yang Hao's estimation, he already has the power to surpass the Saint at this moment. Comparable to the fighting power of saints. His law crystals also began to change as their realms improved. Among the 9 law crystals, except for the law of fate that he had just comprehended, they were all undergoing transformation. It won't be long before my understanding of the law will be sublimated, and it should completely condense the divine gates, and some will even approach the extreme and form a source. Of course, the most important thing is the law of fate. Yang Hao felt the law of destiny that he had finally obtained after all the hard work, and the corners of his mouth curved. The law of fate is endlessly mysterious. Somehow, once you control the road of destiny, you can somehow pull the strings of destiny, change your fate against the will of heaven, and change the trajectory of your life. To put it simply, it can change a person's destiny. If you change an ordinary destiny into a genius destiny, endless great fortune will follow. You can also forcibly reverse the fate of the protagonist, destroying the fate of the opponent's protagonist, so that he will no longer be favored by heaven and earth. Of course, this requires complete control of the road of destiny before it can be used. And the price you need to pay is not small. But for me, it is the most necessary means. Once I control the road of destiny, I can completely change my villain destiny. Yang Hao's eyes flickered. He continued to absorb the crystals of destiny and had an extremely clear understanding of the avenue of destiny. Although it is still far away to control the avenue of destiny, at this moment he understands the laws of destiny and concludes the crystallization of the laws. Naturally, he will not just simply having a clearer understanding of the road to destiny is useless. After understanding the law of destiny, I can use the 2 secret methods of destiny. Together, the eye of destiny. Through the eye of destiny, I can see the fate of others. Yang Hao laughed when he thought of this. The consumption of the divine eye of destiny is not very strong. It requires spiritual power to be used, but it is extremely necessary for him. With the divine eye of destiny, his old enemy in the dark, there is nothing to hide from the eyes of the Lord himself. Not only that, the divine eye of destiny is also the divine thread of destiny, seeking good fortune and avoiding misfortune. He used the divine eye of destiny at this moment, and in his eyes the world became a world composed of lines. These lines are the divine thread of destiny. The red divine thread of destiny means danger. The gray divine thread of destiny means danger. Death. The purple thread of destiny means opportunity. Between heaven and earth, various divine threads of destiny have various functions. Only by using the divine eye of destiny can we see such a magical world. Yang Hao briefly glanced at the depths of the island where he had not continued moving before. There, as expected, there are a large number of red threads of destiny gathering, which means that the danger is extremely dangerous, and there is no chance of death. The second way, small destiny spell. Strictly speaking, this should be called the divine light of destiny. This method is exactly the innate magic used by Fang Qingying back then. After I understood the law of destiny and got started, I was finally able to master the divine light of destiny. The divine light of destiny breaks through all means. Once it is washed away, all means will fall apart in front of me. Of course, such incredible consumption is not small. To activate the divine light of destiny, all you need to consume is longevity. It just so happens that I don't lack longevity at all. Yang Hao laughed. The Holy Land of Eternal Life is good at cultivating immortality methods, and he himself has endless pure foundation. Not to mention these, even the 100,000 immortal substances in his body are enough to consume and use countless divine lights of destiny. And unlike Fang Qingying, the little destiny spells transformed by my divine light of destiny will gradually become more terrifying in power and less consumable as my understanding of the laws of destiny improves. When my destiny crystallizes into the source of destiny, the small destiny technique may even completely disintegrate the opponent's avenue and world power. Yang Hao couldn't help but be fascinated when he thought of this. Almost all of his current enemies are in the realm of saints. What does it mean once the little destiny technique can disintegrate the power of the avenue and the world? It means that saints and even sages can only be captured in front of him. Sit back and wait for death. As long as you cleanse the little destiny spell, you will be in an invincible position. It's a hard work, but it's worth it. Yang Hao took a deep breath and recalled the difficulty of understanding the law of fate. Looking back at this moment, everything was worth it. Should leave get it? There are still riots in the eternal forbidden zone, and alien races are also recovering. We need to leave this place of right and wrong as soon as possible. Standing up, Yang Hao prepared to cross the sea of the underworld. After arriving at the forbidden city of eternity and meeting Zhang Wu, he returned to the holy land of eternal life. This time he came to the forbidden city of eternity, which brought both rewards and confusion. Kindness. The Hades Palace appeared again. Just as Yang Hao stood up, he took a startling glance and found that the grey mist on the blood-red sky had disappeared again, and the Hades Palace appeared in his eyes again. This Hades Palace is really mysterious. I don't know what kind of secret is hidden. Yang Hao subconsciously ran the divine eye of destiny to look at the Hades Palace. The divine eye of destiny can not only see through the destiny, but also see the thread of destiny that permeates the heaven and earth. To realize the existence of the law of destiny, you can watch the thread of destiny, seek good fortune, avoid misfortune, and avoid dangerous situations of life and death. Hey, there is no danger at all. Is this Hades Palace a place of opportunity? Yang Hao's destiny eyes flickered with grey auras. He saw countless seven-color destiny threads running through the Hades Palace. Among them, the blood-red destiny threads that represented danger and death were extremely rare. Instead, there are purple divine threads of destiny that represent chance and luck. They are dense and dense. Yang Hao immediately became interested. Back then, in the ancient battlefield, he only had a brief taste of entering the Hades Palace, and did not really gain insight into the secrets of the Hades palace. Instead he saw the corpse of the Nether Emperor walking out. This made him extremely curious about the Hades palace. After confirming it with the divine eyes of destiny, he thought about it and then rose into the air and headed towards the Hades palace in the void. After all, he still wanted to after some exploration. After comprehending the law of fate, he was able to get a mysterious revelation. This kind of ethereal perception, Yang Hao understood that this was the revelation of fate. Back then, he was on the third floor of Wandeo Pavilion. When he was comprehending the law of destiny, he broke through the law of underworld and got the revelation of fate. Even though the world here was heavy, Yang Hao still flew into the gate of Hades very quickly. A familiar door. Yang Hao arrived in front of the Hades palace. It was an empty square. He saw the familiar gate of the Hades palace at a glance. But after taking a closer look, Yang Hao discovered something unusual. It was not like when he encountered the Hades palace on the ancient battlefield. There were branch roads one after another inside the door. At this moment, he took a quick look and saw that the open door of the Hades palace had only a deep and dark corridor, leading straight into the darkness. There were changes from the last time he entered the Hades palace. Yang Hao's consciousness after arriving at the problem, he did not stop. Through the eyes of destiny, he had understood that there was almost no danger in the Hades palace, so he strolled in naturally and calmly. As expected, he stepped into the gate of the Hades palace and walked through the deep and dark corridor. Along the way, Yang Hao did not encounter any danger. Even the ghosts of the underworld who sometimes appeared in the passage of the underworld did not see their shadows. Going straight to the end, Yang Hao saw a piece of light. Not yet entered, light there is a desolate and tragic atmosphere in it. Yang Hao's heart was shaken subconsciously. The god of destiny saw purple threads of destiny passing through it, and he couldn't help but step into the light. Please download the novel without underlining. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 216. The Glorious Dawn. When Yang Hao stepped into it, he did not step into the scenery of the side hall like he did when he came to the Hades palace before. Instead, he seemed to have stepped into a mirror world. Waves of brilliance and a vast and desolate atmosphere gradually appeared in front of his eyes. Is this a battlefield? Hiss. As the breaths dispersed, Yang Hao was gradually able to see clearly the scene in front of him. In his eyes, the vast world appeared. Illusion God formation. In just an instant, Yang Hao reacted. Although the world in front of him was vast and extremely real, he was so illusory that it seemed as if he did not exist. Yang Hao did not panic, but looked around, looking at this in the vast world, densely packed, almost endless cultivators appeared, fighting in a bloody battle, which shocked Yang Hao. He squinted his eyes and glanced around. He found that one of the two camps was a human race, and the other was a human race. Most of the ancient races that have become extinct. The Fuzzy Golden Crow tribe, the Dapen tribe, the Tianzi tribe, the Holy Ape tribe, powerful races with ferocious faces and strange shapes gathered together to fight crazily with the human cultivators. Yang Hao discovered this it was an earth-shattering battle. The cultivators who were fighting were all astonishingly high in cultivation. Even the weak ones were all powerful. There were quasi-sages, saints and even sages everywhere, showing the extremely powerful heritage of that era. Quasi-emperor. Yang Hao quickly locked his eyes and saw a huge sacred cow. He evolved a strange way and descended in an instant, annihilating a sage on the human side in an instant. Under the rain of blood, there was also a sage on the human side. An old man in black robe walked out. One of his arms was broken, but he was still incredibly powerful. He shot out a strange magic weapon. The magic weapon evolved into various ways and suppressed the sacred bull Quasi-Emperor in an instant. It was so endless the magical power manifested, and a large number of extremely powerful beings emerged from the sky. The scene of crazy fighting greatly shocked Yang Hao. In today's era, such earth-shattering battles still rarely happen. He just made a simple calculation, and then it was discovered that the number of saint-level and above beings gathered in the fight between the two sides was even close to 5 figures. What a concept! Before the arrival of the previous great world, there were only less than 10 sages on the surface of Ziwei star, and there were only 10 saints. Definitely not too many. Now that the great age is coming, many dormant old monsters have emerged from various major holy places, but the total number of holy levels in the entire Ziwei star will definitely not exceed 1,000. It is close to 5 digits. What kind of foundation is needed to achieve the number of saints? Yang Hao took a deep breath, but raised his head and looked at the sky. He felt an even more terrifying aura, which was escaping from the sky. The Quasi-Emperor has already appeared on this battlefield and started fighting. What kind of existence would Tianyi be like? Needless to say, Yang Hao had already realized it. Battle of the Great Emperor. His heart was beating wildly. Even though he had seen various incarnations of the Great Emperor, the remnants of the Great Emperor, and even seen the Emperor's ferocious beasts such as Zilong with his own eyes. But he had never seen the real Great Emperor. Let alone fight. Fighting. Something magical happened. He focused his gaze on the sky, and soon, following his gaze, the whole world began to flow rapidly. The next moment, Yang Hao suddenly appeared in the starry sky. What a terrible aftermath! As soon as Yang Hao appeared in the starry sky, he saw an unforgettable scene in his life. In the starry sky, big stars were shattering crazily. Every broken star was not much bigger than the Ziwei star. The broken stars caused and the time and space he came from was annihilated in an instant. With just a glance, Yang Hao had already discovered the terror of the Emperor. He actually had the power to blow up the big star. He quickly locked his eyes on the source of the power. 7 figures appeared. 7 figures appeared. The figures all exude a terrifying aura. There is no doubt that these 7 figures are all great emperors. 3 human emperors and 4 alien emperors. Yang Hao's eyes flashed, and he looked carefully. At this moment, 7 figures were intertwined, and the aftermath of each punch and kick destroyed the big stars. The strength was really terrifying. The entire starry sky was because of the battle between the 7 great emperors trembled. Yang Hao even saw a drop of the emperor's blood splashing out, which directly caused the silent void to be blasted with rotating black holes. A great emperor, even hundreds of quasi-emperors, are not even the slightest bit inferior. In an instant, such a thought came into his mind. But soon, Yang Hao was stunned. Just now he was shocked by the terrifying power of the battle between the emperors, and he just briefly distinguished the 2 camps. But after a closer look, then, Yang Hao was shocked to discover that he had known 2 of the 3 human emperors before. This first emperor was none other than Emperor Changjiao. Strange. Legend has it that Emperor Changjiao attained enlightenment in the Dark Ages, but this battle was obviously a fight with a foreign emperor in ancient times. Could it be that Emperor Changjiao traveled through time and space to help? When Yang Hao saw Emperor Changjiao, he felt strange. This emperor who was proficient in time, fighting here was beyond his expectation. If Emperor Changjiao surprised Yang Hao, then another great emperor, the figure became even more familiar to Yang Hao. The Yongsheng Emperor. Among the 3 emperors, except for Emperor Changjiao and another emperor whom Yang Hao did not know, the remaining emperors were the founders of the Yongsheng Holy Land, the Yongsheng Emperor. The Yongsheng Emperor attained enlightenment in ancient times, and his appearance in this war was both unexpected and reasonable compared to Emperor Changjiao. After Yang Hao saw the face of the Yongsheng Emperor clearly, he gradually showed a look of surprise. He had heard about the Yongsheng Emperor before, and he and Emperor Changjiao were clearly familiar with each other. It was not surprising that they were fighting side by side now. The other human emperor was also extremely extraordinary. Yang Hao set his sights on the last human emperor. This human emperor had a rough face and a powerful body. A long axe-shaped Jidao emperor weapon in his hand burst out with golden fire, and he fought with the opponent's huge emperor. Come and go. Pan Wuo, we have already lost this battle, and our demands are not high at all. The Ziwei star is our ancestral star, and it is enough to divide some areas to allow us to survive, so why be aggressive? A dragon-shaped emperor said extremely coldly. It was clear that there were 4 against 3, but the 4 alien emperors were at a disadvantage and looked miserable. The blood feud will never end until death. The emperor known as Pan Wu roared angrily, fighting directly to the death, bursting out with endless divine power. Not only Emperor Pan Wu, but also Emperor Yongsheng and Emperor Changjiao sneered again and again, and used a series of killing techniques to suppress the 4 emperors. There is no hatred in the world, only interests. Without us, how could your human race grow so fast? Let me go, we don't need the ancestral star fiefdom. These alien emperors were completely angry and panicked. Under Yang Hao's attention, they burst out with unprecedented fighting power. Really bloody. This Emperor Pan Wu actually chose to die together. The Eternal Emperor was also seriously injured and seemed to be about to die. I heard that in the ancient times, the greatest number of human emperors had attained enlightenment, reaching more than 20 people. Including the great emperors from the ancient times, where did they all go? Where did the other alien emperors go? Yang Hao watched the bloody battle of the great emperor, his eyes sparkling, and he had many insights, but also endless confusion. In his eyes, the fighting between the 7 emperors lasted for several months. Although the alien emperors were extremely powerful, they fell one after another. But similarly, the 3 great emperors of the human race were not that good. Emperor Pan Wu was full of blood, severely injuring a foreign emperor, and finally died together with another foreign emperor. The Yongsheng emperor also beheaded the alien emperor who was severely injured by Emperor Pan Wu. After it was on the verge of collapse, he fought with another alien emperor who was still alive. Both sides were bleeding. It was extremely miserable and he was about to die. Only Emperor Changjiao relied on his mysterious and endless knowledge of time to bring down a foreign emperor, and finally decided the outcome of the battle. Seeing this, Yang Hao's eyes turned again. Then he saw Emperor Changyu dismembering all the fallen foreign emperors and sealing them to various dangerous places on Ziwei Star. It is extremely difficult to kill the emperor, and there are even countless resurrection options. Emperor Changjiao wants to prevent these emperors from being resurrected. Yang Hao's eyes flickered. The follow-up of Emperor Pan Wu and Emperor Yongsheng did not appear in the picture, but he looked at Emperor Changjiao's arrangement and understood the purpose of Emperor Changjiao's doing this. In the eternal restricted area, the mutilated corpses of 3 alien emperors were buried. He looked deeply at the picture and found that the great emperor placed some of the corpses of the 3 alien emperors into the eternal restricted area. The blood of the alien emperors drained away, and a lake of blood gradually formed. This is the origin of the Sea of Darkness. The alien races will one day return under the leadership of the kings, so future generations must not let down their guard. The scene ended, and Yang Hao suddenly saw Emperor Changjiao looking at Yang Hao with a smile but not a smile, and casually threw a ray of light towards Yang Hao. See me again. Yang Hao was stunned and instantly received the divine light thrown by Emperor Changjiao. It was an extremely simple waist badge. On it, there was a complex ancient text engraved on it. Yang Hao happened to recognize this ancient text. Deep. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 217. Yang Hao was confused about the extremely mysterious existence of Emperor Changjiao. As the picture breaks, the light gradually disappears. He had reappeared in the corridor at this time, and there was an invisible depth in the distance. Playing with the waist badge inscribed with the ancient word Ming in his hand, he did not sense any spirituality from it. Unless he tells the origin of the gift from Emperor Chang'e, no one will regard this belt as a sacred object. His intuition told him that this waist badge with the word Ming would be of great use in the future. Although he couldn't see through it at the moment, Yang Hao still kept it very preciously. The foreigners will return under the leadership of the kings. Yang Hao couldn't help but squinted his eyes when he thought of the scene that had just disappeared and Emperor Chang'e's words of warning. The world is getting more and more exciting. Not only the geniuses have revived, but also the ancient alien races that have been completely suppressed by the human race will also revive and return. This great world is destined to usher in glory, and the number of geniuses who will rise will be no less than those cultivators who just fought. Yang Hao thought of the ancient trees all over the world, and the splendid avenues of stars, the emergence of geniuses from the human race, and the gradual recovery of ancient alien races, which made him look forward to the future and full of fighting spirit. After all, invincible is what he fears most. Is lonely. The corridor I am in now seems to be the corridor of Hades that I just entered. Returning from his thoughts, Yang Hao looked forward. After thinking for a moment, he did not choose to leave. Instead, he chose to walk towards this extremely deep corridor again, hoping to reach the end again. Along the way, it didn't take long for Yang Hao once again saw a somewhat familiar light. He found that not only was the light familiar, but even the aura emanating from it was extremely familiar. I remember that there are many branch roads and side halls in the Hades Palace, but here, could it be the same place as before? Yang Hao guessed as he walked inside. Soon, Yang Hao saw a familiar scene again. The vast world appeared. One after another fought bloody battles with the strong aliens, and fiercely fighting cultivators appeared. The saints and quasi-emperors fought together, and thousands of miles of rivers and mountains collapsed. Looking up at the sky, there were endless fluctuations in the sky. Within the stars were broken like rain. The 7 great emperors fought together, and all the scenes reappeared. In front of Yang Hao's eyes, it seemed that he had experienced reincarnation. The scene ended, and Yang Hao was teleported to the dark corridor again. Not the same. Yang Hao was keenly aware of the difference. The scene had just ended. Emperor Chang'e buried the foreign emperor, but he did not speak to him again, nor did he send out a Ming sign again. It seems that only the first time will trigger Emperor Chang'e's commandment. Yang Hao was thoughtful, but his footsteps never stopped. He once again stepped from the dark corridor to the end and stepped into the light. All the pictures evolved again and appeared in front of Yang Hao. There are no other opportunities in the Hades Palace. This time, apart from learning some ancient secrets, the trip was in vain. Yunyan's regretful voice came to his ears. Yang Hao laughed when he heard this. Oh, not necessarily. Yunyan, this is the greatest opportunity. He stood in the dark corridor, pointed at the light at the end of the corridor and said casually. Is this an opportunity? Yunyan was stunned for a moment, then immediately reacted and said, Master, do you want to watch these practitioners fight and learn from their combat experience? Useless. These scenes are too old, not deliberately preserved, and are not suitable for viewing and understanding at all. Hearing Yunyan's persuasion, Yang Hao smiled and nodded. You are right. But others can't, but I can. After the words fell, Yang Hao was already heading towards the end of the corridor again, and the picture appeared in front of him again. What's the meaning? Yunyan was stunned, but she didn't dare to disturb Yang Hao. She just watched quietly as Yang Hao observed these scenes attentively. Gradually, Yunyan found that Yang Hao seemed to have fallen into a mysterious state while observing. As if I had an epiphany, I understood. The master's understanding is unparalleled in the world, and he can gain insights from even extremely long-lasting pictures. She sighed. After all, she still underestimated Hao's monster. A true genius can gain a lot just by being modest. Yang Hao naturally didn't care about Yunyan's thoughts. At this moment, his eyes were filled with the gleam of destiny, and he stared at these things very carefully. Pictures, learning the fighting methods and techniques of these practitioners. The first thing he observed was not the 7 emperors fighting in the starry sky. It was the most ordinary practitioners fighting with aliens. The main objects of observation were those powerful aliens. The aliens, the more you know about the foreign races, the better. Yang Hao did not underestimate the foreign races because they were once suppressed by the iron blood of the human race and disappeared in the long river of time. Instead, he learned many tactics that he had never seen before, and his fingers followed him. As he watched, he seemed to be deducing something. When the scene ended, he was teleported to the dark corridor, and then returned again. This cycle continued, and he kept observing. Gradually, Yang Hao seemed to have realized something, and had some understanding of the alien race. He gained a new understanding. At this time, he turned his attention to a more powerful level. The fighting in the Saint Realm. The Saint Realms of aliens and humans fought crazily, mostly using the simple and crude power of the Avenue, and sometimes it will stir up the power of the small world to overwhelm the opponent. For Yang Hao, these objects are very important to learn. He began to study more focused. Those long-lasting pictures, in Yang Hao's eyes, are the most precious things in the world. Secrets of Kung Fu. After watching these saints fight, Yang Hao didn't know how much time had passed. He gradually discovered the shortcomings of his own fighting, and began to check for leaks and fill in the gaps. At the same time, he had a series of enlightenments. There seemed to be a cavity in his chest. Burning with passion, I want to create a new method. I see. On this day, Yang Hao suddenly realized that he gradually understood the Dharma he needed to create. He resolutely headed towards the starry sky above the sky. The Dharma that was about to be created needed the assistance of the emperors to come to the starry sky. Countless the big star was broken, and the battle between the emperors was still extremely terrifying. Even Yang Hao, who was gradually getting used to it, still felt his heart surge. He began to observe the extremely powerful details contained in the punches and kicks of these emperors with great care. Huangquan Road was originally used like this. I have always been indifferent to him. At this time, Yang Hao watched the Yongsheng Emperor fighting with the alien emperor. In addition to using a few extremely powerful imperial weapons, he was extremely surprised to find that on such a high-end battlefield, the Yongsheng Emperor still used the Huangquan Road. The Huangquan River, combined with the underworld avenue controlled by the Yongsheng Emperor, makes the alien emperor extremely troublesome. Everything I have learned is very complicated. Now, I need a way to explode everything in me. This method requires a carrier. The Jidao Emperor's weapons are too strong and consume too much, so they are not suitable. The primordial killing formation is too unique and cannot be combined with other means. This Huangquan Road, as a magic weapon with special laws, has an all-encompassing feel, which is just right. No wonder my aunt loves to use that red sword so much. Thinking about it, I understand the principle of simplicity. Yang Hao looked at the Huangquan Road flying all over the sky, and he had endless strange thoughts. Thousands of sparks burst out in his mind. Just watching the scene over and over again, under Yang Hao's crazy observation, he finally combined the essence of the fighting methods of the alien emperor and the human emperor and began to evolve his second self-created method. Unlike the reincarnation method, which is more auxiliary, this self-created method will be his strongest attack method. It should be like this, then like this. Huangquan Road, it can be like this. Riots have arisen in the eternal forbidden zone, and the resurgence of alien races is imminent. Although Yang Hao came to enlightenment, he was also worried about wasting time, so he deliberately used time acceleration on himself, accelerating his own time 100 times and deducing wildly. He also gave part of the confusion to Yunyin's deduction, which greatly saved time. Time just flows away like this. Finally on this day, Yang Hao's eyes glowed with divine light. A series of mysterious principles were completely integrated into his newly created self-made method. With this method, I can also kill sages. Before, Yang Hao estimated that he had the fighting power of a saint, but he did not have the confidence to actually kill a saint. But it is different now. After creating the second method, Yang Hao has endless confidence in his chest. Even a saint can be killed. Of Master, you are humble. I think this method is comparable to the quasi-emperor I have seen before. At this moment, Yunyin, who had been helping Yang Hao participate in the deduction, said to Yang Hao in amazement. Although this method has not yet appeared in the world, this method combines the emperor's battle method and many details with Yang Hao's supreme understanding, which is really terrifying. Even Yunyin, who has always been cautious, is extremely confident in this method. It also consumes a lot of money, and you have to pay part of your lifespan. It's time to leave. Unknowingly, I have stayed here for more than 10 years. Fortunately, I used time acceleration. My points have also been depleted. Yang Hao laughed. Time acceleration also accelerated the transformation of the immortality material in his body, but the points could not keep up with the consumption of time acceleration. Even if he was still getting a steady stream of them, he still could not keep up with the terrifying consumption of acceleration. But even if in this way, the 100,000 immortal substances in Yang Hao's body have been converted into more than 10,000 immortal substances at this moment, and he is not far away from the 8th level of the Emperor. The picture that Yang Hao has observed countless times in front of him is now shattered again. Teleporting Yang Hao to the dark corridor as always. This time, Yang Hao did not choose to continue to observe. The time when he entered the Blood Sea, excluding the enlightenment in the Hades Palace, had been about 2 months, and he needed to leave. Outside the Sea of Blood, there is some unrest. Walking out of the Hades Palace, Yang Hao entered the Sea of Blood again, and was about to leave the Sea of Blood without any danger. Yang Hao's eyes turned into the eyes of destiny, and he sensed that beyond the Sea of Blood, there was a great horror waiting for him. Even if in this way, Yang Hao is extremely confident in his current strength and strides forward without fear. Please download the novel without underlining. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 218. Coming. Appear, surround him. In the Sea of Blood, the figures of corpse slaves exuded a rotten atmosphere, calling in low voices, and surged towards the Sea of Blood in unison. Yang Hao's figure, facing the Emperor Mountain, gradually walked out of the Sea of Blood. 103. It's quite interesting. How come there are 160 corpse slaves waiting for me outside the Sea of Blood? Most of them have quasi-sage level strength, with 23 levels of saint level and 2 levels of sage level. Yang Hao, who had already received the revelation of his destiny, had already anticipated the danger. However, he still never thought that there would be more than 160 powerful and terrifying corpse slaves outside the Sea of Blood, as if they were deliberately waiting for him to walk out. Is it because there is something about me that attracts these corpse slaves? Yang Hao thought for a while and couldn't find a solution. After all, he had too many treasures on him. Since these corpse slaves want to attack him, let them go without return. Yang Hao's eyes flickered, and the underworld road appeared in his hand. Master, do you need to get together? Yunyin asked immediately. Unnecessary. Now that my strength has reached the Emperor level, the effect of combining with you is already very small, and it will affect my control of power. Yang Hao said lightly. The underworld road in his hand turned into an underworld, flying out, directly killing the saint-level corpse slave with 7 wings in front of him. The underworld was like a sea, surging out. The underworld road directly ran through the saint-level corpse slave, the extremely powerful law wave caused him to suffer heavy losses. It was clear that the saint-level corpse slave had not yet fallen, but Yang Hao ignored it. The underworld road once again cleansed the underworld law, killing several saint and quasi-saint level corpses. The slave penetrates instantly. Go up and capture him. When the corpse slaves saw this scene, they did not panic. The leader of the sage-level corpse slaves suddenly ordered, "Capture me." Yang Hao tilted his head strangely. This was the first time he heard these seemingly dull corpse slaves speak. With their strength reaching the holy level, it was not surprising that these corpse slaves spoke. But, why should he be captured? Could it be that it was really for the treasure in his hand? Boom! At this moment, there was a sudden muffled sound. The saint-level corpse slave that was initially penetrated by Yang Hao's underworld road suddenly heard a muffled sound, and the endless underworld completely corroded its body. A saint-level corpse slave fell easily. Not long after, just like before, almost all the corpse slaves that were penetrated by the underworld road died after being suffocated. He. Yang Hao was not surprised when he saw this scene. This was a method he learned from the Emperor's killing scene in the Hades Palace and from the spellcasting of the Eternal Emperor. The seemingly ordinary road to Underworld, with the law of Underworld as the main body, actually carries the power of the 9 terrible laws. What does this mean? It means that the laws repel each other, which will produce an extremely terrifying explosion. However, Yang Hao used this explosive power to use Huanquan Road as a carrier to bring it into the body of the corpse slave, and instantly corpse slave bombardment. To a certain extent, this method is similar to the strange fire-killing formation that Xiao Qing'er evolved back then. Of course, the achievement is naturally different from cloud to mud, and Yang Hao can easily control the 9. The power of the Tao Law can control Huanquan Road at any time to release the power of the law that is about to explode. Such peerless control did not borrow the power of the 5 elements Dao, but killed several saint-level corpse slaves with the pure power of the law. If it had been before, Yang Hao had seen in such a terrifying scene, he could only turn around and run away, but now he can handle it with ease and confidence. It is enough to see that Yang Hao's combat power has improved to a terrifying level. There are more and more. That's it, just try my homemade method. Yang Hao watched as he killed several people. Instead of fearing to leave, these corpse slaves kept appearing again. He squinted his eyes, although he was safe. But he knew that if he could not penetrate instantly at this moment, if you walk out of a passage, you will be surrounded by nearly endless corpse slaves in the eternal forbidden zone until the alien race revives. The light of destiny. Yang Hao cleansed away the divine light of destiny without thinking, and launched an increasingly powerful prehistoric killing array, triggering the death of time and space. In an instant, the corpse slaves' killing attacks from all over the sky were completely annihilated by the divine light of destiny. The appearance of the prehistoric killing array, a large number of corpse slaves were also dragged away in an instant. Yang Hao began to prepare to use his second self-created method. Come with me. I am a spiritual saint from the Taiyan Holy Land. I am destined to you and have a big secret to tell you. At this moment, the sky and the earth suddenly trembled, and a crack opened. Then, a jade hand stretched out and grabbed Yang Hao directly. Yang Hao raised his eyebrows and avoided the jade hand, and a trace of surprise flashed in his heart. He didn't notice it just now. Someone actually lurks so close to me. A spiritual saint from the Taiyan Holy Land, Yang Hao narrowed his eyes. Even if he didn't see this figure immediately, if it weren't for the spiritual saint to declare his family in an instant, she would have become a dead person. But even so, he would not pay attention to the sudden appearance. Appeared, a saint with whom he had no connection. I came here specifically to find you and want to be your Taoist companion. That big secret is related to Xiao Qing'er. This woman has betrayed the human race and wants to resurrect the alien race. It is really an unforgivable crime. The spiritual saint was very smart and understood that Yang Hao could not leave with her, So he did not waste any time and said all the words that could win Yang Hao's trust. There is a big secret related to Xiaoqing. This place is in the eternal forbidden zone. A woman suddenly appeared and wanted to tell him Xiaoqing's secret, which made him a little confused. Has Xiaoqing arrived at the eternal forbidden zone? Was this corpse slave her work? Yang Hao's Hung had a suspicion, his eyes flickered, and grey divine lights flickered. Quick, follow me quickly. The zombie slave killing attack has come again. No matter how powerful you are, Emperor Zun, you cannot beat four hands with two fists. There is no need to stay and die. More terrifying existences will appear next. At this time, the corpse slaves who were destroyed by Yang Hao with the divine light of destiny attacked again, and they were even more violent. Good. At this moment, Yang Hao finally nodded and stepped out. He instantly escaped into the trembling world. The moment he stepped into the trembling world, an endless and terrifying vortex of time and space suddenly broke out among the corpse slaves. More than 100 corpses, a third of the slaves' figure fell almost instantly. You did it. In the trembling world, the spiritual saint was stunned when he saw this scene, and stammered. The power just now was really terrifying to the extreme. Even this trembling world was completely shattered. Kindness. Yang Hao responded calmly. Admitting this was also a way to intimidate this woman. He swept his eyes over the spiritual saint with an extremely domineering look. The incomparable water spirit in this spiritual saint's life had a divine light shining in his eyes, which was touching. But what Yang Hao cares about is the trembling world. It is not space or the secret realm of time, but a kind of crack that Yang Hao has never seen before. It can kill 1/3 of the corpse slaves by inducing time, space, and death. He, of course, stepping into this world is not to avoid disaster, nor is it reckless. On the one hand, it is because the words of the spiritual saint have successfully aroused his curiosity. On the other hand, it is also because he is purely interested in this trembling world. Out of curiosity, even Yunyan didn't know what this tremoring world was. Of course, the most important reason was that he had used the divine eye of destiny to confirm that there was no murderous intention or danger in this tremoring world before he walked into it. It's really cool. He is indeed the man I love. Unexpectedly, Yang Hao did not succeed in intimidating the spiritual saint. Instead, the other party's eyes were shining brightly, staring straight at Yang Hao, his eyes full of satisfaction. Tell me your origin. Why are you here? What is this world? Xiaoqing in the eternal restricted area. Yang Hao was a little speechless when he was stared at by the spiritual saint. He could only ask directly. I am a spiritual saint, Su Lingqing from the Taiyan Holy Land, and I fell in love with you at first sight. I went to the Holy Land of eternal life to woo you before, but I learned that you entered the forbidden area of eternity. Naturally, I also. The spiritual saint stared at Yang Hao's handsome face with admiring eyes. While talking, he nodded with great satisfaction. She told Yang Hao everything she said and heard about entering the eternal forbidden zone. She also told Yang Hao everything she knew, even her own secrets, without hesitation. Could this girl have been transformed by the Wei Pagoda? When Yang Hao heard the holy spiritual heart saint say slowly, he looked at the spiritual heart saint with some surprise. If he hadn't been sure that this was the first time he saw the spiritual heart saint, he would have thought that he had transformed the spiritual heart saint. Past. Seeing the spiritual saint being stared at by him, not only did he not show any shyness, but he straightened up his chest, which was as majestic as a mountain, and showed off himself to his heart's content, hoping to win Yang Hao's appreciation. Weird genius. Yang Hao shook his head. This Lingzin saint is very evil and very weird. He doesn't have much feeling about the Lingzin saint's courtship. He is used to it. At his point, there are too many goddesses who like him and love him. Emperor Ning Xian back then was an example. But Yang Hao has always been very principled. It was easy to have a romantic relationship overnight, but it was impossible to become his Taoist companion. Thank you for the information, I am very happy. But even so, Yang Hao still showed a smile and said slowly to the spiritual saint. The news brought by this spiritual saint was like the rain after the rain, it was really useful. Fei. Lu reminds you, reading 3 thing dash. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 219. Xiao Qing'er actually betrayed the human race, was it to deal with me? Yang Hao showed an expression of great interest. Through the spiritual heart saint, he already knew that the reason why many corpse slaves surrounded him and wanted to capture him was because of Xiao Qing'er. The other party turned out to be an eternal restricted area. King. He has not forgotten the words of Emperor Chang'ai. The kings have returned and the alien race has revived. But Yang Hao did not expect that this king of the alien race would have a place for Xiao Qing'er. Master, I know Xiao Qing'er very well. Although she is a little arrogant, she should not be able to betray the human race at this time, Yunyan said to Yang Hao. She was completely loyal to Yang Hao. Naturally, it could not be to prevent Yang Hao from dealing with Xiao Qing'er, but to provide more information to facilitate Yang Hao to determine the truth. Of course I know. She is a waste. If he betrayed the human race, he would still have some courage. When Yang Hao heard this, he laughed in his heart and said to Yunyan. Saint Lingzin told Xiao Qing'er to let the corpse slaves escort Lan Sheng away, and he knew that Xiao Qing'er was not really betraying the human race. He had some understanding of Lan Sheng. This person is extremely courageous and one of the most evil geniuses since the end of the Dark Ages. Some people even compared Lan Sheng to Zhang Wu. There is no reason for such a genius to betray the human race and stand on the opposite side of the human race. Xiao Qing'er, naturally there is no need for this. After all, what if the alien race recovers? When the human race was weak, they could suppress the alien race. Now that the human race is powerful, who is really afraid of the alien race? He doesn't need to think too much. He can know Xiao Qing'er. It was in order to deal with himself that he chose to become the king of the alien race. The reason why Xiao Qing'er is said to be a waste is because of this. If Xiao Qing'er is cruel and completely sides with the alien race, it is impossible to say that he can really use the power of the alien race to match the protagonist. Luck poses a fatal threat to him. He chooses the two ends of the head and the rat, he is wavering, and the foreign race is not stupid, and he will definitely not give his full help. Since she has set the battlefield in the eternal forbidden zone and Lan Sheng is not by her side, let's finish her off completely. This time Yang Hao made a decision in deep thought. Now that he had made a decision, Yang Hao naturally ignored Xiao Qing'er and focused on another important piece of news provided by the Lingzin saint. That day, the Lingzin saint secretly followed Xiao Qing'er hid all the way to the core of the eternal forbidden zone. She discovered the great secret. In the eternal forbidden area, will a quasi-emperor who is expected to become enlightened be resurrected this time? In addition, there is also an ancient prince from a foreign race who will be revived. Yang Hao showed a thoughtful look. The quasi-emperor who is expected to attain enlightenment after the resurrection of the alien race must be in order to give birth to a great alien emperor again. This is an era without emperors. If this quasi-emperor is allowed to successfully attain enlightenment, the consequences will be disastrous. In addition, the ancient prince who is about to revive is no small matter. An existence that can be honored as an ancient prince among foreign races often represents a true peer of the same generation. No one can defeat him, whether it is a foreign race or a human race. In foreign races, the so-called generation does not refer to the strong men of the same generation in one's own generation, but to the strong men of the same generation in the entire era. No one can surpass them. A peerless talent from ancient times. Yang Hao's eyes flickered, but he was looking forward to it. Such a genius has revived from ancient times and came to today's world. No matter what the opponent's strength is, is it possible to fight with him? Compared with fearing the resurrection of the alien quasi-emperor, Yang Hao is more what we are looking forward to is the resurrection of the ancient prince from a foreign race. Emperor Zun, please leave with me now. Although it is a bit slow in the underworld, the best thing is safety. Unless the quasi-emperor who controls the avenue of insight takes action, it will never be possible to detect us. Sage Lingzin saw Yang Hao gradually raise his head, as if he had finished thinking, and immediately said with a smile. Need not. I have other plans. You are very good, Taoist companion, there is someone in my heart, I will not give it to you. But you are qualified to be my follower. If you are willing, you can also bear the blessings of rain and dew. Yang Hao looked at Saint's spiritual heart with admiration and said casually. He told the truth and wanted to cut off Saint's spiritual heart's thoughts, but he pitied Saint's spiritual heart's talent and wanted to conquer him and become his second follower. Being able to seduce Yang Hao, the talent of the spiritual saint is naturally extraordinary. This woman controls three special avenues. The avenue of hiding, the avenue of the underworld, and the avenue of heaven and earth. These three special avenues are superimposed, allowing her to travel through the weird underworld. In the world of heaven and earth, no one can match her in terms of concealment. Even Yang Hao has never seen her before. But it is only this time. Compared with others, Yang Hao has systematic perception and is on guard. Next time, as long as you pay attention to the spiritual heart saint, you will not be able to lurk next to him. But for other strong people, even the saints, and even as the spiritual heart saint said, unless they are quasi-emperors who control the avenue of insight, even the quasi-emperor cannot detect the spiritual heart saint. This is why the spiritual heart saint is so bold and skilled in art. He not only dares to follow the corpse slaves in the eternal forbidden zone, but also chooses to stay outside the sea of blood and wait for Yang Hao's return despite the riots in the eternal forbidden zone. Followers. Sage Lingzin blinked his eyes when he heard this. He was a little angry at first, but after hearing Yang Hao's words, he showed a rather satisfied look. But then Sage Lingzin became a little entangled and said, although it is very attractive, but my mother might not agree. Let's do this. You wait until I return to the Holy Land to discuss it with my mother. If my mother agrees, I will be your follower. Hearing the frank words of Saint Lingzin, Yang Hao was stunned for a moment. He just asked casually, and did not think that Saint's spiritual heart, who had a somewhat weird personality, would agree. However, he never thought that Saint's spiritual heart was actually serious. Is preparing to return to the Taiyan Holy Land to discuss with her mother. That's all. Yang Hao laughed, shook his head and said to the spiritual saint, send me out. Since the mother of such a peerless genius like Saint Lingzin is still alive, the other party still needs to discuss it with his mother. After all, her mother is not an ordinary person, and she will definitely not agree to let Saint's spiritual heart become his follower. However, Yang Hao has always had a grudge. Obviously, if the spiritual saint has enmity against him, then whatever happens will be done. But the other party not only has no enmity with him, but also deliberately comes to help him. Naturally, Yang Hao will not forcefully interfere with the other party. Go out. The corpse slaves haven't dispersed yet, and the news of your departure, Emperor Zun, will definitely be received by Xiao Qing'er. She is now the king of a foreign race, and there are many saints around her, which is too dangerous. Sage Lingzin knew that Yang Hao had other plans and did not force him. But when he heard that Yang Hao wanted to leave the underworld, he became a little anxious. She was telling the truth. Although the corpse slaves in the outside world seem to be controlled by Yang Hao just now, a lot has been massacred, but there will only be more and more. No problem. I have my own arrangements. Although this world of underworld is strange, it is not difficult for me to get out. Yang Hao has his own plans, and naturally he will not listen to the dissuasion of the spiritual saint. What he said is also true. In the underworld, the most important thing is to be hidden. From the outside in, it is extremely difficult to sense this special world hidden in the world. But from the inside out, if you want to get out, there are too many methods you can use. Alright. Since you have a plan, Emperor Zun, I will believe you. If something cannot be done, just call out to my body and she will appear. Sage Lingzin said helplessly, with a hint of cunning flashing in his eyes. Can. When Yang Hao heard the words, he did not refuse. With the help of Saint Lingzin, he walked out of the underworld again. Next, a scene that stunned Saint Spiritual Heart appeared. The mountains and seas of corpse slaves in the outside world followed Yang Hao when he appeared again. He naturally fell into a state of extreme madness. However, under her attention, Yang Hao burst out with terrifying strength and instantly annihilated all the hundreds of remaining corpse slaves. What method is that? I have never seen this concubine before, she is too powerful. Could it be that Emperor Zun created his own method? The monster is so talented. Emperor Zun has not only become an emperor, he has also created such a terrifying method. The Saint of Spiritual Heart recalled the scene where Yang Hao walked out, clearing the place in an instant like a sharp knife cutting through a mess, and his beautiful eyes kept flashing with light. After meeting Yang Hao, she found that instead of hating him, she admired him even more. Admiring each other. Only such a powerful being is worthy of her entrustment. Who does he want to be his Taoist companion? Maybe it would be good to be a follower first. Sage Lingzin muttered. She knew that there were many legends in history about followers becoming Taoist companions with their masters. What will happen to Emperor Zun if he kills these corpse slaves? Just leave. The spiritual heart saint continued to pay attention to Yang Hao with dazzling eyes, guessing what Yang Hao would do next, but he never thought that Yang Hao would stand with his eyes closed, waiting quietly for something. As long as there are corpse slaves or aliens when a ferocious beast approaches, he easily kills it with great style. He wants to wait for Xiao Qing. Sage Lingzin was suddenly shocked. She instantly figured out why Yang Hao didn't leave, but waited in place. What a courage! Nowadays, when there are dangers and knowing that the alien race is recovering, Yang Hao is still so calm and unhurried, which makes her fascinated. At this moment, Yang Hao, who was under the gaze of Saint Lingzin, suddenly launched a prehistoric killing array, attracting a dead space in time and space, and instantly broke it open. Two beautiful figures walked out immediately. Please download the novel without underlining. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 220. The two figures are naturally Wenwan and Zhongwu. The moment the two people walked out, Yang Hao shot out the Emperor Mountain, directly covering the two of them, and then shot out a formation disc to block all auras. The spiritual saint was completely cut off from prying eyes before he even had time to look at the two of them. Her guess was right or wrong. Yang Hao was indeed waiting for Xiao Qing to come to the house on his own to avoid future troubles. But more of them were sensing the aura of Wei Tower and bringing Zhongwu and Wenwan back. It has been a long time since I entered the Blood Sea. The golden crow in Wei Tower should have been refined. As a resurgent alien, you should know some news. If the Quasi-Emperor and the Ancient Prince do not revive immediately, they can suppress Xiao Qing before leaving. If the Quasi-Emperor and the Ancient Prince are going to recover, they need to take a long-term approach. Yang Hao watched Zhongwu and Wenwan appear with a smile on his face. He was not brave and arrogant because of his great improvement in strength, thinking that he could run rampant in the eternal restricted area. Instead, he calculated step by step and acted after making a decision. Spiritual heart. The news brought by the saint is very useful. Combined with the information from the Golden Crow Master, it should be able to make him make appropriate decisions. It seems that you succeeded, however. Have you reached the realm of Emperor? When you transform immortal matter into a small form, you can become a saint. Zhang walked out of the secret realm of time and was shocked when she saw Yang Hao for the first time. She could see at a glance that Yang Hao was different at this moment. There was an immortal aura coming from his body, and it was clear that he had surpassed the eternal giant and entered to the realm of the emperor. Thinking of the past when Yang Hao once asked Lord Longshan how long it would take to return, and once confidently said that as long as he entered the realm of saints faster than Lord Longshan, all the problems would be solved, her heart was shocked. Even if it was, she had full confidence in Yang Hao, but she just regarded Yang Hao's words as a joke. But now, she suddenly discovered that Yang Hao was infinitely close to the saint realm. Zhang Wu knew very well that Yang Hao had already taken control. The Five Elements Avenue, the biggest shackle to becoming a saint, had already been completed by him, a monster, when he was in the giant realm. In other words, it was just a matter of time before Yang Hao wanted to become a saint. This shocked Zhang Wu, and at the same time there is a sense of crisis. I am about to be overtaken by this little guy. Once Yang Hao becomes a saint, will he still be far away from a sage? Perhaps for many people, it takes endless years to become a sage, and it is infinitely far away distance. But Yang Hao must not rely on common sense. Thinking of this, Zhang Wu couldn't help but sigh in her heart. How long has it been since then, and the little guy who needs her own hand to protect him all the time has been able to take charge of himself? In her heart both shocked and proud. Yes. Yang Hao smiled and said to Zhang Wu, this trip went well, but there are some surprises at the moment. Auntie, please return the Wei Tower to me. Zhang Wu heard this, and she had nothing to do. She just helped Yang Hao take care of the Wei Tower for the time being. Yang Hao naturally handed it over to him when he needed it. After taking the Wei Tower back, Yang Hao immediately sensed that the Golden Crow Great Lord in the Wei Tower had been taken away. Complete transition. Very good. Yang Hao immediately released the Golden Crow Master and asked the Golden Crow Master. The transformed Golden Crow Master naturally knew everything and talked about it, and immediately answered all the questions asked by Yang Hao one by one. I see. The time for the alien Quasi-Emperor to revive is not yet ripe. It seems that we can wait for Xiao Qing. The Golden Crow Master has a very high status among the resurrected alien races. Although he has just recovered, he got a lot of information and knew many secrets after his recovery. After Yang Hao asked the Golden Crow Master, he made a decision instantly. With his current strength, plus Zhang Wu, as long as he does not encounter the alien Quasi-Emperor in the Eternal Restricted Area, he can avoid even many death places through the prehistoric killing array. After knowing what he wanted to know, he felt a little regretful. The Quasi-Emperor who is about to revive this time and is expected to achieve enlightenment happens to be from the Fuzang Golden Crow tribe, so the Golden Crow Master knows a lot about it. That ancient prince indeed swept Tianzi back then and later had inexplicable scars on his body and was forced to proclaim himself a god. It was not because of the shocking war in ancient times that aliens proclaimed themselves for their race. The reason for reviving the ancient prince was to let the alien Quasi-Emperor devour him and speed up the process of the alien Quasi-Emperor's enlightenment. It's just an ancient prince who died young, but he can't fight with him. Yang Hao is very disappointed. His wish to compete with the peerless genius from ancient times has come to nothing. Not only is this ancient prince not powerful, he will even become a ration for the alien Quasi-Emperor. It is really miserable. In this case, just suppress Xiao Qing and leave. At that time, our human race's Quasi-Emperor will naturally enter the forbidden area of eternity and crush the alien Quasi-Emperor's plan to revive. Zhang Wu also learned the whole story from Yang Hao at this moment. After she learned about Yang Hao's current combat power, she immediately made a decisive decision. Her views were surprisingly consistent with Yang Hao. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she completely eliminated Xiao Qing. The hidden danger has been resolved. If Yang Hao had not had an unexpected breakthrough in the depths of the Blood Sea, he would have encountered a murderous disaster as soon as he stepped out of the Blood Sea. Thinking of this, Jongwoo also burst out with murderous intent. Wenwan, your strength is still a little lacking, so go to Wei Tower to practice. Great Lord Golden Crow, you want to be a chess piece, insert it into the depths of the alien race, so as to save your own life and bring more value to me. Waiting for Xiao Qing Yang Hao also began to make arrangements. Wenwan's mission has been completed. She is still useful to Yang Hao. She is an extremely useful chess piece against Lin Feng. There is no need to expose it yet. As for Wenwan, she is still useful to Yang Hao. The Golden Crow Master, in Yang Hao's eyes, also has great value. According to the Golden Crow Master's self-statement, Yang Hao knew that the Golden Crow Master was more powerful than he imagined. He had already reached the 9th level of the Saint. It was just because he was too weak to recover and needed time to recover. He did not intend to keep the Golden Crow Master under his command, but to let him go deep into the foreign race and provide him with various intelligence at all times. Therefore, Yang Hao rewarded the Golden Crow Master, including many recovery artifacts, including the essence of the death medicine, as well as several powerful Ji-Dao divine weapons, helped him quickly regain his fighting strength. After telling the Golden Crow Master to finish, Yang Hao took the Golden Crow Master into the Wei Tower again. When things here are over and they leave the Eternal Forbidden Zone, Yang Hao will take the opportunity to release the Golden Crow Master. The Yongsheng Emperor didn't know how many chess pieces he had buried in various holy places with the help of the Wei Tower. Seeing Yang Hao arrange the chess pieces with ease, Jongwoo sighed at the side. Hey. Auntie, let's not talk about other holy places. Most of the old monsters in our eternal holy land have been transformed by the Eternal Emperor. Otherwise, how could our eternal holy land be monolithic? Yang Hao chuckled and said casually to Jongwoo. Back then, he had made guesses about the Wei Tower just like Jongwoo did. Yang Hao's eyes flashed across the scene of the death battle between the Yongsheng Emperor and the foreign emperor in the Hades Palace. Who? He also didn't know if the Eternal Emperor was still really alive. He also didn't know that the Eternal Emperor would keep terrifying special imperial weapons like the Wei Tower as inheritance, but this thing was indeed too overbearing and helped him a lot. It doesn't matter, this is also a good thing. Jongwoo was not surprised when she heard this. If it were her, she would do the same thing. Just converting some people, not completely enslaving them, can keep the Taoist tradition for endless years. This is a very cost-effective deal. Coming. While the two were chatting, Jongwoo suddenly moved her brows and said to Yang Hao, kindness. Yang Hao also squinted his eyes at this moment and looked at the end of the sky. The red sky was reflected by the sea of blood, and terrifying auras appeared. Compared with the corpse slaves who had the aura of decay before, these terrifying auras were accompanied by life. The first person is extremely conspicuous. It is Xiao Qing who is dressed in a fiery red dress and looks like a goddess. Beside her, there is a huge and majestic celestial lion alien warrior following her. Xiao Qing, you are so brave, you actually hooked up with a foreign race and betrayed the human race. Do you know your sin? The aura of the Emperor Mountain dropped above Yang Hao's head, and the magic circle used to shield the spiritual saint's perception was instantly removed by him. He and Jongwoo appeared in everyone's sight in an instant. Yang Hao. When Xiao Qing saw Yang Hao waiting unhurriedly, her heart trembled subconsciously. Immediately afterwards, she became angry. At this moment, she came with a strong alien, and there were a large number of corpse slaves following behind her. It can be said that taking advantage of the situation. The other party actually questioned her first. This made Xiao Qing very embarrassed. Betrayal of the human race. This crime is really too big. She just used these aliens to help her get back her ring. How could she bear such a reputation? Return my ring quickly. Otherwise, I will fight you to the death today. Xiao Qing scolded Yang Hao angrily, directly stating her purpose. Ring. Do you mean it? When Yang Hao heard this, he was not surprised. Instead, he smiled and moved his fingers. A simple and old ring appeared between his fingers. Give it back to me. Seeing this scene, Xiao Qing'er was furious, and her whole body erupted with a shocking force. You are an emperor. You are practicing very quickly. It seems that you have had many adventures recently. If you want it, give it back to you. Yang Hao glanced at Xiao Qing'er, then sneered, and threw the ancient ring in his hand into the void. Xiao Qing'er was in a hurry. He immediately broke out at extreme speed and chased after the ancient ring. Stupid! When Yang Hao saw this scene, he sneered. In his hand, the road to hell turned into a sword, and the sky was filled with the aura of killing. With one sword, it fell into the void. The sea of hell appeared. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 221. The law of underworld, manifested into the river of underworld, instantly annihilated towards Xiao Qing'er. Not good. Xiao Qing'er was alarmed. She bit her silver teeth, but she didn't give up. She still grabbed Guji. But at the same time, a huge shadow appeared around her body. Laugh. There was a strange sound in the void. Huh. What kind of magic weapon is that? Yang Hao squinted his eyes and looked at the huge shadow that appeared around Xiao Qing'er. It was a square and simple magic weapon. Like a huge ruler, it stood behind Xiao Qing'er and cut him out. Resist all the laws of underworld. Wrong. There is an imperial heir. Is this the ultimate imperial weapon? Yang Hao's eyes flashed, and after careful sensing, he discovered that the qiying offered by Xiao Qing'er faintly exuded a familiar aura. Although this aura was slightly different from what he usually sensed, but he could easily guess the origin of the breath. He looked at the system income record. Earned 470 million points for discovering Tianzun ruler. Interesting. Shouldn't it be that our human race's Ji-Dao Emperor weapon was obtained by Xiao Qing'er from a foreign race? As expected of the protagonist. Yang Hao looked at Xiao Qing'er, who had already grabbed the ring, and smiled coldly in his heart. No. How could it not be? What will happen to Sister Yunyin? Did you kill her? At this time, Xiao Qing'er, who had already taken the ancient ring in her hand, immediately felt impatient, and the next moment she was dumbfounded. There was no figure of Yunyin in the ancient ring. Xiao Qing'er guessed almost instantly that Yang Hao had sent Yunyin erased. She knew Yunyin's character very well. Xiao Qing'er didn't know that there were divine objects like Huia Tower in the world. She knew that Yunyin would never succumb to Yang Hao's lust. With Yang Hao's character, Yunyin will definitely be annihilated. Thinking of this, Xiao Qing'er felt as if she was struck by lightning, her seemingly delicate body trembled, and a blazing murderous intention suddenly broke out. Her eyes flashed with hatred, staring at Yang Hao. In Xiao Qing'er's mind, memories of Yunyin teaching her in the past, and being both a teacher and a friend flashed through her mind. She wanted to avenge Yunyin. Thinking of this, Xiao Qing'er whispered coldly, Tianqi de Lord, kill him. Respect the king's order. The great Lord Tianqi is naturally the strong man of the Tianqi clan. He grinned with a cruel smile and looked at Yang Hao's figure. Kill him. As soon as his words fell, endless corpse slaves surged out. Xiao Qing'er, as expected, colluded with aliens. However, you kill Xiao Qing'er, and leave this foreign lord and corpse slave to my aunt to resist. Zhang Wu, who was beside Yang Hao, witnessed the scene with her own eyes. As the heavenly lion master and many corpse slaves surged in, the entire eternal forbidden zone was washed away with the aura of endless laws and avenues. Good. However, these corpse slaves are a nuisance, so leave it to me to deal with them. When Yang Hao heard the words, he chuckled. Then, the prehistoric killing array trembled. Space fluctuations came from behind and overturned towards the corpse slaves. He had been waiting here for a long time, but it was not like he had done nothing. The dead places of time and space have long been dragged here by him. As the corpse slaves surged, the dead places of time and space appeared in an instant, surrounding these corpse slaves. Damn, so many places to die. Are you up to something? Master Tianji's expression changed, and he couldn't help but become furious when he saw the many corpse slaves withering away like rain. His strength was extremely terrifying, and he instantly escaped the time and space death zone that came to attack him, and headed towards the killing place where Yang Hao and Zhongwu were. Boom! In the void, avenues bloomed one after another. The avenue of blood. The avenue of claws. The avenue of wind. The Heavenly Lion Master controlled 3 entire avenues in an instant and launched an attack on Wu. Trivial skills. Zhongwu saw the Tianji Great 3 avenues suppressing her, but she showed her domineering power. The red shadow divine sword appeared in her hand, and she struck an unprecedented blow with her sword. She directly killed the Heavenly Lion Lord. The terrifying killing aura made the Heavenly Lion Lord so powerful. The being's hair stood on his head, and his heart was horrified. He hurriedly avoided it. The opponent's strength was beyond his expectation. The 3 avenues he led away were almost instantly destroyed by the divine sword in the woman's hand. Is the top powerhouse in the human race now. I will kill you today to celebrate the king's return. The great Lord Tianji snorted coldly, and one avenue after another surged out from behind, heading towards Zhongwu. Although he is only in the realm of a saint, the combat power displayed by this Lord Tianji has fully reached the level of the human race. Holy Realm. One after another red shadow sword light pierced the sky. Zhongwu broke out with unprecedented terrifying combat power. The scene was noisy. In the distance, many corpse slaves were suppressed to death, and only a few were killed towards Yang Hao. However, he was killed by the aftermath of Zhongwu's sword light within a moment. The Heavenly Lion Master controlled various powerful avenues, sacrificed several equally terrifying Ji-Dao divine weapons, and fought with Zhongwu. Nearby, Yang Hao's gaze looking at Xiao Qing'er coldly. At this time, Xiao Qing'er's whole body burned with flames one after another, burning her completely. She seemed to have become the goddess of fire, and her whole body was washed with the breath of flames. The law of fire is the ultimate, only one step away from touching the Great Road. Oh! What is that? Interesting. Under Yang Hao's gaze, Xiao Qing'er's body was surrounded by a total of 13 divine fires. Each divine fire was similar to the divine fire when he fought with him in the Chief Holy Code. And even more powerful. These divine fires were continuously integrated into Xiao Qing'er's body at this moment. Then, the flames around Xiao Qing'er became more and more powerful. Her aura was breaking through. Use the power of divine fire to burn the ultimate law and force yourself to control the avenue of fire. If you use this method, I'm afraid there will be a lot of trouble. It seems that Xiao Qing'er really likes the secret method of suicide. The battlefield is changing rapidly. Even if Yang Hao is far stronger than Xiao Qing'er at the moment, he is not careless in the face of the protagonist's fate. It only took Xiao Qing'er a moment to complete her transformation. When she was transforming, Yang Hao's hand the Huanquan Road has already taken action. He knows very well that a lion fights a rabbit with all his strength. Now Xiao Qing'er is about to control the Avenue of Flames, and he has another Ji-Dao Imperial weapon to protect his body. Although to him now, it is not worth mentioning. But he does not allow any accidents to happen. Once he takes action, it is his strongest self-created method now. Supernatural powers. A total of 72 supreme magical powers appeared, and instantly surged into the Huanquan Road. Killing array. The prehistoric killing array is like flowing silver pouring down the ground, and powerful auras are also falling on Huanquan Road. Law. The 9 laws are intertwined together, with the law of underworld as the main body, and they coincide with the road of underworld. Melt. Yang Hao's eyes condensed. Powerful waves in his hand poured into the Huanquan Road in his hand in an instant. Suddenly, the Huanquan Road in his hand began to evolve crazily. A howling Huanquan Road appeared. It was like mountains appearing together. The law of hell. Yang Hao's eyes were stern. In the next moment, any force surging on the Huanquan Road vibrated and exploded in the manifested mountains. In an instant, the underworld hell appeared. It was the same as the Linfeng attack from Wandao Pavilion in the past. The vision of heaven and earth created by killing him is very similar. But it is more ferocious. This is the most powerful killing method that Yang Hao can now display. His second self-created method. He had just revealed it in front of the spiritual saint. He has passed the tip of the iceberg, but it is not with all his strength. Now, Yang Hao feels that his longevity is being absorbed crazily, filling it into this second method. The power of this method has reached its extreme. If it is used, it can kill the sage. Yang Hao has no sympathy for her. Even if Xiao Qing'er is protected by the Jidao Emperor's soldiers, she will be completely eliminated today. You are strong. Sure enough, I'm not as good as you. But today, I will kill you. Revenge for Sister Yunyin. Xiao Qing'er felt the terrifying aura of the underworld hell method, and the flames all over her body seemed to be extinguished, and her momentum was completely suppressed. But Xiao Qing'er did not hesitate at all. 13 divine fires merged together instantly. On her hand, the Tianzun ruler was held tightly by her. Facing the surging underworld and the hell that swallowed up the world, all Xiao Qing'er's divine fire poured into the Tianzun ruler in an instant. The avenue of fire appeared, attached to the Tianzun ruler. At this moment, a huge lion soul emerged above Tianzun Qi, and its breath alone reached that of a sage. This is Xiao Qing'er's strongest trump card now. The gods are angry. Xiao Qing'er slashed out with one foot. Instantly merged with the underworld. Even facing a sage, Xiao Qing'er's attack can pose a threat. It's a pity. The difference in strength between the two is really too big. It's over. Yang Hao's underworld, with almost devastating power, instantly annihilated the wrath of the gods that Xiao Qing'er exerted with all his strength. Tianzun Qi, the ultimate imperial weapon, forcibly shook the space, resisting the killing of underworld with its own strength. If Xiao Qing'er can fully utilize the power of Tianzun Qi, the ultimate imperial weapon, he will definitely be able to resist the underworld. Unfortunately, Xiao Qing'er's strength is too weak. Theoretically speaking, it is impossible for Xiao Qing'er to be emperor. The power of the Jidao Emperor's weapons was fully unleashed. Most of the power of the underworld hell had passed through Tianzun ruler and reflected on Xiao Qing'er. A large mouthful of blood was spat out in an instant. Xiao Qing'er suffered broken tendons and injuries in an instant. Tragic. At this moment, an accident that Yang Hao expected happened. The world in the eternal restricted area was shaken. Please download the novel without underlining. I took away the villain's son. Author, the great Onmyoji. Chapter 222. It is absolutely impossible to suppress a Destiny protagonist simply and easily. Every Destiny protagonist is an unbeatable Xiaoqiang. Even if you have the strength to absolutely crush the protagonist, it is very likely that you will be affected by the extremely weird luck of the protagonist of Destiny, allowing the protagonist of Destiny to escape or even kill you. What will be the surprise this time? Yang Hao did not relax his suppression of Xiao Qing'er because of the shaking of the sky and the earth. Instead, his offensive became more and more fierce. Xiao Qing'er was already in extremely miserable condition. If it weren't for the Supreme Emperor's soldier Tianzun ruler standing in front of him, she would have been suppressed by Yang Hao on the spot. It's not just Yang Hao's side. Zhang Wu's side also has the upper hand. Corpse slaves, kill them all. The originally extremely arrogant Heavenly Lion Master was easily suppressed by Zhang Wu at this moment. His powerful body was cut and broken again and again. Even if the immortal golden body recovered crazily, it could not keep up with those killed by Zhang Wu. Speed. Even the avenue released by Master Tianqi was completely blocked. When Wu Annihilation summoned one, Zhang Wu easily annihilated it. Even the swarming corpse slaves did not stop Zhang Wu from killing. Blood splatters, white clothes beat the snow, showing terrifying fighting power. So strong. In the underworld, the hidden spiritual saint watched Yang Hao and Zhang Wu take action, completely suppressing both parties. She couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes with an incredible look. How powerful the Great Lion is, she had known it before. Saint Lan, who was also a sage, was surrounded by corpse slaves and the Heavenly Lion Lord. He had almost no power to fight back and could only passively defend. But whether it was Yang Hao or Zhang Wu, facing more corpse slaves, they were all at ease and easily gained the victory. Everything seemed to be without any suspense from the beginning. Is this powerful woman Zhang Wu? He is worthy of being the protector of the emperor. Sage Lingzin took a deep breath and stared intently. She had already recognized Zhang Wu's identity. Strictly speaking, she was even much older than Zhang Wu, but in terms of strength, she could not compete with her at all. Compared to. No wonder Emperor Zun said that I am only qualified to be his follower. If it is this woman, then I have no chance of winning. Sage Lingzin looked at Zhang Wu. A woman's intuition is amazing. Normal people would never associate the relationship between the protector and the protected monster with the relationship between Taoists. But Sage Lingzin looked at Yang Hao and Zhang Wu. The tacit understanding of fighting gave rise to wonderful conjectures. Not good. At this moment, Saint Lingzin's expression suddenly changed. She controlled the special avenue of heaven and earth, and sensed fluctuations from heaven and earth that ordinary people could not sense. Emperor Zun, go quickly. A powerful being has resurrected in the eternal forbidden zone. His strength is very terrifying. If he finds me, I may be killed by him in an instant. Sage Lingzin did not hesitate to expose the underworld and the world, and immediately sent a message to Yang Hao. I see. When Yang Hao heard this, he narrowed his eyes. In front of his eyes, Tianzun Kai's defense line was about to be completely broken by Huan Quan Hell. Xiao Qing'er would also be suppressed by him. The accident came after all. Could that powerful being be the quasi-emperor? Yang Hao knew that the ancient prince had died, and immediately thought of the quasi-emperor. Logically speaking, it is impossible for the quasi-emperor to be revived now. But the reason why the accident is an accident is naturally something unexpected. If he is not right, if Xiao Qing'er takes action, no accident will happen. But if Xiao Qing'er takes action, accidents will definitely happen, and it may even lead to a life or death crisis. Ha 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 ha. The ancient holy ape king has revived. Today, you will all die. On the other side, Zhang Wu had just killed a corpse slave, and Lord Tianqi, who was already on the verge of falling, suddenly laughed wildly. Ancient king. Zhang Wu frowned. But an extremely vast aura washed out. That was her little world, a pure and shining little world. It almost annihilated the Heavenly Lion Lord in an instant. Ha 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 ha. All races will eventually return and suppress you and other human slaves again. Before his death, Lord Tianqi said one more word and was instantly smashed into pieces by Zhang Wu's little world. He was suppressed and fell forever without even leaving any blood. GGG. The ancient king is about to walk out, and the one who revives is the ancient king of the holy ape. You will definitely die. Killing the murderous slave and genius, this is the beginning. When the Heavenly Lion Master fell, those rotten corpse slaves also laughed loudly. Afterwards, the space-time deathland induced by Yang Hao was instantly annihilated. Even so, there are still countless corpse slaves appearing. Hao suppressed Xiao Qing and left. After Zhongwu killed the Heavenly Lion Lord, she frowned and slashed out with a sword, directly targeting Xiao Qing's heavenly ruler. At the same time, on her left and right, a bright moon-like white jade plate flew out, continuously circling, emitting 7-color divine light. She has sensed the crisis. It is not the ancient holy ape king that the Lord Tianqi said. But she feels something is wrong. Whether it is the Lord Tianqi or the corpse slaves, it seems that there is no afraid of death, yet they continue to die one after another. The corpse slaves can be regarded as being shrouded in the mysterious aura of the eternal restricted area and becoming delirious due to decay. But the great Lord Tianqi, a saint with the fighting power of a saint, was about to fall before he died. Not only did not struggle to resist at all, but he laughed loudly, as if he was deliberately welcoming death. This is very wrong. Even if he is a foreigner, if he can practice to the realm of a saint, he must be very precious about his life. Especially a saint like Tianqi who has just recovered, how can it is impossible to desire to live? But the other party fell too decisively. Zhongwu instinctively felt uneasy. Because of this, she rarely intervened in Yang Hao's battle. Good. When Yang Hao heard this, he also frowned. The situation was a bit troublesome. The Jidao Emperor's soldiers were extremely difficult. His underworld method was destroying Xiao Qing, but as an emperor, the opponent had already given birth to immortal matter and was recovering crazily. In fact, from the beginning of the war to the present, the time has been very short. Because of this, Tianzun ruler has been able to withstand his terrifying killing attacks. Fortunately, with Zhongwu's intervention, Tianzun ruler, the ultimate imperial weapon, has begun to fail to hold up and is on the verge of collapse. 1 minute. Yang Hao estimated that it only takes 1 minute for Xiao Qing to be suppressed. Boom. Boom. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, the shaking of the eternal forbidden zone became even more distant, and the whole earth was shaken. 3 human races. This king comes from the Holy Ape clan. Are you willing to become my slaves? At this time, a terrifying figure appeared. This figure was extremely huge and exuded a terrifying aura. It was an ape holding a giant stick in his hand. Just the aura he exuded at this moment was far beyond what he had just seen. Master Tianqi. The realm of Sage. The strength of this giant ape is undoubtedly the realm of Sage. Yang Hao, you will bury your bones here today. It's too late to leave now. You have to pay the price for your arrogance. The miserable Xiao Qing, seeing this scene, struggled to form a smile on her lips. She had long expected that the ancient king of the Holy Ape tribe would resurrect. Even, this was the resurgence of the ancient king led by her. Noisy. Yang Hao glanced at the figure of the ancient king of the Holy Ape clan, and his mood was not at all disturbed, but he continued to stir up hell for Xiao Qing. Aren't you leaving yet? When Xiao Qing saw that Yang Hao was still breaking her heavenly ruler, a trace of anxiety flashed in her eyes. She knew that the other party was determined to suppress her completely. At this moment, the ancient king of the Holy Ape clan was getting closer and closer. I saw it wave its hand casually. The giant stick in its hand stabbed directly into the sky and the earth. Puff. The space of that side of the world was not shattered. Instead, it began to twist. A figure was thrown out, severely injured on the spot, and the body collapsed. Although the figure flashed with golden light, the collapsed body was restored instantly by the repair of the immortal material. But we still suffered heavy losses. Little bug, are you willing? When the ancient king of the Holy Ape tribe saw this scene, he smiled and said to the figure. This figure is naturally the spiritual saint. Just now, she opened the underworld to transmit messages to Yang Hao, but there was a trace of fluctuation sensed by this ancient king of the Holy Ape tribe. Powerful. Only a truly powerful being can have insight into the spiritual saint. Something bad happened. We can only go to Emperor Zun's side first. Sage Lingzin did not expect to be instantly penetrated by the ancient king of the holy ape. She frowned and walked in the direction of Yang Hao. Sage Lingzin knew very well that even if she escaped into the underworld again at this moment, she would have no chance to smooth things over. The turbulence between heaven and earth will still be suppressed by this ancient holy ape king. This ancient holy ape king is really too powerful. For the current plan, we can only go towards where Yang Hao and Zhang Wu are, hoping that they can resist this ancient king. Ancient king of holy apes. Saint's spiritual heart never thought that the situation would take such a turn for the worse, and his heart sank. Auntie, save her. I'll be fine soon. At this time, Yang Hao spoke to Zhang Wu. Saint Lingzin did not notice that on the road where she was galloping, the shadow of a giant stick had already fallen on the trajectory of her upcoming flight. If this stick hit Saint's spiritual heart, she might die. Good. Zhang Wu naturally saw the danger of the spiritual heart saint, and immediately slashed out with the red shadow divine sword. Why don't you run away yet? What on earth do you want to do? On the other side, when Xiao Qing'er saw that Yang Hao was still extremely persistent in destroying the Tianzun ruler, her eyes had completely changed. She had already sensed it. The Tianzun ruler was about to be completely broken. Time up. Xiao Qing'er, I'm going to suppress you. Yang Hao sneered. Tianzun Qi was instantly swallowed up by the underworld and hell, and merged with the underworld where Xiao Qing'er was burning, becoming a torrent of underworld and drowning Xiao Qing'er. Xiao Qing'er was seriously injured in an instant. The divine fire on her body was extinguished. Yang Hao then sacrificed the Wei Tower _Fei. Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading.